It's hard to overstate just how much the world shifted the moment news broke that Vladimir Putin had sealed a nuclear deal with Niger. It wasn't just another headline about global politics. It felt like the ground cracked open under France's feet. For decades, France stood tall as the powerhouse of Africa's uranium supply, feeding its glowing network of nuclear plants and powering the glittering cities of Paris, Lyon, and Marseille. That empire wasn't just built on contracts. It was built on control. And now, almost overnight, it feels like it's slipping through their fingers. The image is still so vivid. On one side, Russia, calm and calculated, offering its handshake to Niger. On the other, France, stunned, watching as its former colony chose a new partner, a new protector, and possibly a new future. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. France had always been the center of Niger's uranium universe, the invisible hand that shaped its policies, its exports, even its political tides. But then came the coup, the shift, the realization in Niger that perhaps they didn't want to play by France's rules anymore. And into that space stepped Russia, with its sharp eyes and iron grip, offering not just deals but dignity. That's what makes this story so emotionally charged. For Niger, this isn't just about business, it's about breaking free. For so long, their uranium mines were like veins tapped for someone else's heartbeat. The French nuclear industry depended on that lifeblood, while Niger's own people lived in darkness, often literally. How could a nation sitting on glowing treasure be left in the dark? That question simmered for years, and now, it seems, Niger has decided to answer it on its own terms. You can almost feel the pride rising in Niamey. Young people waving Russian flags, chanting about sovereignty, sharing videos on their phones like they've witnessed history being rewritten. There's excitement, of course, but also relief, like exhaling after years of holding your breath. They're saying, we finally get to choose who we walk with. It's more than policy. It's personal. Meanwhile, in Paris, the mood is very different. France built an energy empire on the back of African uranium. The lights of the Eiffel Tower gleamed from power sourced thousands of miles away, while entire villages near those mines struggled without electricity. It's not just the loss of supply that stings now, it's the loss of dominance. To see Niger turn to Moscow is to see a mirror crack. The image of France as the eternal power in Africa has been shattered, and there's fear behind the polished statements from French officials. Fear that this isn't just about Niger. If one domino falls, others might follow. Mali, Burkina Faso, the Central African Republic. One by one, countries have begun pivoting away from Western influence and toward a Russia that promises respect without lectures. France once walked through the Sahel like a landlord. Now it feels like an unwelcome guest. That reversal is hard to watch and even harder to stop. What makes this moment almost cinematic is the symbolism wrapped around it. Uranium, glowing, dangerous, powerful, isn't just a commodity. It's the core of France's energy lifeline. Their nuclear reactors power about 70% of the country. Without Niger, that chain trembles. And yet here is Niger, a nation that once served quietly, now standing up and saying, we want our share of the light. That image alone could power 1,000 headlines. Putin, of course, knows exactly what he's doing. For Russia, this is more than a deal. It's a statement. After being pushed out of European markets, after sanctions and isolation, Moscow is carving new roads into Africa. Roads paved with energy, security promises, and a defiant kind of friendship. This isn't just about Niger's uranium. It's about planting a Russian flag on territory that France thought it would always control. Every handshake in Niamey echoes like a drumbeat in Paris. And if you listen closely, you can hear the emotional undertow running beneath all the politics. This isn't only about who gets to profit. It's about who gets to matter. Niger's decision says, we are not your shadow. We are a nation. That kind of declaration resonates far beyond economics. It hits the soul of post-colonial Africa, where so many nations are still trying to reclaim voices long silenced. To see Niger make this move is, for many, like watching someone finally step out from behind a curtain into the sunlight. At street level, it looks even more real. In Niger's markets, people are whispering about how this deal might finally bring affordable electricity, jobs, investment. Mothers talk about how their children could grow up in a country that controls its own resources. Young men talk about dignity, about no longer begging for partnerships that come with conditions. It's hope, raw and unpolished but fierce. And it stands in stark contrast to the panic simmering in European energy circles. France now faces questions it hasn't had to answer in decades. How do you power your cities if your empire of supply starts to collapse? What happens when the countries you once lectured decide they no longer want your guidance? These aren't just technical questions, they're existential. And that's why the shock runs so deep. This isn't just a deal that shifts markets. It's a deal that shifts identities. Even in Russia, you can feel the pride swelling. For a nation often painted as cornered and isolated, this is a bold chess move. It says, we are not retreating, we are expanding. And that kind of symbolism matters, especially to a country eager to project strength. Russian media is already celebrating, showing footage of smiling Nigerian officials and framed documents, hinting that this is the start of a new chapter in Africa. One written not in French, but in Russian. And maybe that's what makes this story so gripping. It's not just about uranium or power grids. It's about a world in flux. The old order is cracking and new alliances are rushing to fill the space. For some, that's terrifying. For others, it's thrilling. Somewhere in between those emotions, the future is quietly being built.